Tonight I am experimenting with a recipe. I mentioned that I'm going to be co-authoring a cookbook, and so I'm in recipe development mode, and I have a favorite Moroccan recipe that is chicken, green grapes, artichokes, onion, preserved lemons, harissa paste. But typically it takes close to an hour. We build layers and layers of flavor, and it comes out as more of a stew. And so I wanted to play with the idea of creating a sheet pan meal for an easy weeknight meal, but to really bring in all those complex and interesting flavors that you get with Moroccan cooking. So tonight is experiment one. And so what I have here is I have green grapes, some clusters here. I have some chopped artichoke hearts. Now these are grilled artichoke hearts that I got at Whole Foods, but you could use frozen artichoke hearts or you could use a can of artichoke hearts drained. Either would be fine. I have one onion sliced thin, and I have a lemon sliced thin, and then I also used the juice of half of this lemon for the marinade for the chicken. Now in Moroccan cooking, you can typically buy this harissa paste in a jar. You can get this at Walmart, Amazon. It's pretty easy to find. You can also make your own. But the other key ingredient for Moroccan cooking is often called preserved lemons. Now they can be more expensive, harder to find. Again, you can make them on your own. But tonight I'm just going to use some salt and I'm going to use lemon slices. Again, going for a quick, easy, affordable version of this dish on a sheet pan for easy cleanup. I have a little bit of fresh cilantro to top at the end. And then I have my chicken breast and I have it marinating in about a quarter cup of olive oil. And then I also have a little bit of vinegar in here and harissa paste and some turmeric and salt and garlic. So this has been sitting in here. We're going to cook these chicken breasts whole on the sheet pan. So I just wanted them to marinate a little bit while I was putting everything else together. I actually used a harissa flavored olive oil for about a third of the olive oil, and I threw in a little bit of this mango balsamic. You can use any vinegar that you want, like an apple cider, a red wine, a rice vinegar, and really just a regular olive oil. I just really like playing with those different flavored ones to see what happens. So I'm going to throw our onions and our artichokes in this bowl, and I'm going to toss it with a little bit of harissa paste to get the seasoning on those before we lay everything out in the sheet pan. And I think you'll see just how easy this comes together. We're going to throw our artichokes in here. And I just chopped these artichokes to be roughly the same size as a green grape. Again, trying to keep everything to cook evenly. And these are really just being reheated more than anything. All right. We're going to open this harissa sauce. Now, harissa sauce is really just a sauce made of red bell peppers. It's got some chili pepper in it, some garlic, and some extra virgin olive oil and a little apple cider vinegar. This is also great for making shakshuka. It's great with eggs if you want to do a fun brunch. It's a really widely used ingredient in Moroccan cooking. All right, I'm going to put, we're going to go with about a third of a cup and just see where that gets us in terms of seasoning everything. I don't want it to be too wet and I don't want everything drowning on the sheet pan. So, but I do want to add that flavor. We'll stir this up and start laying everything out. I just want it lightly coated, and then we will salt and pepper everything while it's on the sheet pan. Now the tagine recipe I normally cook calls for cutting the grapes in half, and you cook one piece at a time and layer the flavors. And don't get me wrong, it's delicious. But it's a little bit more of a labor of love than a weeknight meal. And Moroccan flavors are just some of my favorites. And I really want to try to bring more of those world cuisines into our weeknight cooking, just to really keep things interesting, keep it from getting boring. All right, I'm just going to put these onions and these artichokes all over the sheet pan here. You can tell they're not drowning. There's no like liquid pool. It really is more of a paste and just gives it a nice color and will give it a nice flavor. All I'm going to add a little bit of salt and pepper. And pepper. And then we're going to get our chicken breast and just nestle those down into all of those delicious veggies. Now I've got 3 chicken breasts here. You could cut this into chunks for faster cooking if you wanted to, but these are the really thin sliced chicken breasts, and so I'm just going to kind of create a hole for each one of them, like so. Now I've got the oven preheated to 400 degrees. Quite often I cook sheet pan meals at 425, but because these chicken breasts are thin, I don't want to overcook them and they become dry. So I'm going to go at 400, and I'm going to check the temp at 15 minutes and see how it's doing. But my guess is it's going to have to cook for closer to 25. All right, put that last chicken breast in there, and we're done with that. And now we're just going to nestle these lemon slices. We're just going to kind of put them around, and we're going to let that juice just permeate through all of those veggies and through that chicken. Move that guy over a little bit. Got a big pile of onions here. And you want to get everything as close to one layer on the sheet pan as possible for even cooking. That's really important. If you start getting piles, you start crowding the pan, and that's when you start getting a lot of liquid and a lot of water, and you really lose some texture when you do that. I'm going to create a couple of other wells here, because what we're going to do with the grapes is we're just going to pop them down in clusters. So I'm going to take one here and here and here. Got one more lemon slice. Looks like it should go over here. And I'm going to save that cilantro to go on at the very, very end. So here is our sheet pan meal. Look how pretty that is. We've got the yellow and the orange. We've got the red from the harissa, the green from the grapes, the yellow from the lemons. It's going to be so pretty and full of flavor. So you really get the spicy from some of the chili peppers. You get that savory from the red bell pepper and the salt and pepper. You're going to get the acidity from the lemons, and then you're going to get the sweetness from the grapes, and you're going to get a really nice texture from the artichokes. So it really is a meal that should really liven all your senses. And then I think when it comes out at the very end, I may drizzle it with a little bit of this mango balsamic just for an added little kick. So this is our sheet pan meal, and I'm going to throw this in the oven for 15 minutes, and we'll see how it comes out. This is the first attempt at this recipe of my own measurements, and so we'll see what happens. Stay tuned. All right, so to go with our Moroccan chicken sheet pan meal, I have chicken broth, some couscous, and this is pearl couscous. You may see it as Israeli couscous. They're little tiny pasta balls, basically. And I have some chicken broth and some butter flavored oil and some salt in here coming to a boil, and then we're going to add the pasta. This is a nice little hearty pasta. It's great served underneath a lot of these Moroccan dishes. All right, so 15 minutes was perfect for this recipe. The chicken is still really tender. It's at just the right temp at 165. So now I just want to show you how pretty this is. I've sprinkled the cilantro over the top, and I'm going to drizzle just a little bit of this mango balsamic over the top just for a little bright sweetness, and like literally just gonna drizzle it over the chicken a little bit to add a little something. There we go. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to serve this on top of some Israeli couscous. Now I love couscous. There's traditional couscous, which is really tiny, almost looks like a grain. And then we have Israeli couscous, which is a little bit bigger pearls. So we are going to put a spoonful of couscous in the middle of the plate. And this comes together so beautifully. I've got a spatula here that I am going to grab some of these artichokes and onions, and I'm just going to pick the lime or the lemon slices out. I don't need to eat those. I just wanted the flavor that they would give me. And I'm going to put this piece of chicken and all these delicious veggies right on top. And I love artichokes, so I want to make sure I get plenty of those on my plate. And then I'm going to take one of these little bunches of grapes, and I'm just going to plop them kind of on the side. Now they're nice and warm and tasty. What I will say is you could cut them in half if you wanted them to, start to roast and reduce down, but I kind of liked this particular, I wanted to try them whole. So there it is. This is the first attempt at our Moroccan artichoke green grape sheet pan meal. So now let's take a bite and see what the verdict is. I don't want to mess up that pretty plate I want to take a picture of. So let's take a bite over here. And I'm going to make sure I get a grape, because the beauty and knowing if a recipe is done well is to get a taste of everything in one bite. So I've got an artichoke, I've got an onion, and they still have some texture to them. They're not too soft, but they're not super crunchy to where they'll be astringent. And then I've got my grape, all one good bite. Wow. I think it's a winner. You have so many textures going on between the chicken, the artichokes, the onion, the grapes, and then this flavor explosion. Like all the senses are going right now, from a little bit of the pepper, the sweetness, the smell of the onions, the crunch of those grapes. So delicious. And the chicken is perfectly tender. So stay tuned for the upcoming Made with Love cookbook. Pretty sure this recipe is going to make it in there. Let me know if you have any questions about what I've covered tonight, couscous or the sheet pan meal. And just remember, in my virtual dinner parties, in my group program, these are all the things that we cover, is how to take these complex flavors and really turn them into something simple and flavorful and delicious that you can do on any weeknight, so that you can get rid of all that stress and overwhelm and show up at the table ready to connect with your people, ready for conversation, and ready to talk about all the fabulous flavors that you just created. When you can do that, it changes the whole dynamic. It's about so much more than the food. It's about relationships. So I'm your mealtime and relationship mentor, Trisha Clark, and I'll see you in the next video.